This tutorial will teach you the basics of summarizing, when to do it, and how to write a good summary that avoids plagiarism. First, let's figure out what a summary is. It differs from a paraphrase or a direct quote in some key ways. Understanding these differences will allow you to successfully summarize. A summary is a short explanation of the main idea of the original passage. It should include only the main idea in the original passage and be written in your own voice using your own expressions. It should be significantly shorter than the original. An original passage that is only a paragraph could be summarized in a single sentence. Original passages of a page or longer could be summarized in a paragraph or two, proportional to the length of the original. The major difference between a paraphrase and a summary is that a summary is much shorter and touches only on the one or two main ideas in a passage, while a paraphrase is about the same length as the original and meant to touch on all the information the original presents. There may be times you are expected to give a history of a topic or incorporate past research into your writing. In this case, it's useful to summarize books, articles, or encyclopedia entries in order to incorporate existing knowledge into the information you are about to present. In this situation, being able to summarize is important because you want to cover the main idea or ideas of a book or article without getting bogged down in details that would be extraneous to the topic of your paper. Leave the quotations to specific pieces of information that can't be said any other way. Use summarizing to get big ideas across to your reader. Click the link to take a look at an essay featured on the Purdue Online Writing Lab site. In this example, we're looking at an essay trying to convince readers it is a good idea to make public education non-compulsory. But in this essay, it is the ideas that are key, and they can be put into a few short sentences. You can stop the video here to take a look at the link. There is another important reason to get better at summarizing. The ability to take in information and relate it, and its importance to other information you have learned, is a lifelong critical thinking skill that you will use over and over, not just in a single writing class. Being able to pull out ideas, to understand what a writer or speaker is trying to express, will mean you not only understand it better than if you just quote it, but it will also make your writing more relatable and more authoritative. While summarizing, be careful not to change the meaning or intent of the source material. If you want to use the information from a summary to make an argument, do it after completing the summary, otherwise you run the risk of attributing a particular bias or point of view to the original that did not actually exist. Summarizing is a skill you can learn and practice just like any other. First, with all sources you are thinking of using in a research paper, read the original passage more than once until you really understand the main ideas that the writer is trying to express. Taking a few notes before you write your summary will help you make sure you include everything you should. Write down the main idea, then beneath it write a few pieces of supporting information. Some examples could be a breakdown of the main idea enumerated in the original, an example of the main idea, or some piece of information that serves as proof of the main idea. The first sentence of your summary will clearly state the main idea. In the example from the previous slide, the main idea of the essay was that public education should not be compulsory. The next sentence, or second half of the first sentence if the original passage is short, should present the details from your notes clearly showing the connections to the main idea. An example of this are the reasons that public education should not be compulsory and the benefits it would provide to schools and to students. Now let's look at an example, again taken from the Purdue Online Writing Lab. First, the original passage. Read it as many times as it takes to understand what it's trying to say, and the important details you should be sure to include in your summary. Next, we are presented with a good example of how to paraphrase. Note that while it is slightly shorter than the original, it still makes sure to include all the information presented. The original presented a problem and then a solution. The paraphrase succinctly reports both these aspects of the passage and uses different phrasing and vocabulary more in line with how the paraphraser themselves might write. The next section is an example of how to summarize this source passage. Instead of presenting the problem and then discussing a solution, it simply states both together in a short sentence that gets right to the point so that the writer can move on to the argument of their paper. Notice that the main idea is covered, student note-taking, including direct quotations, while leaving out unnecessary details like the specific percentage of direct quoting students should limit themselves to. And last, we have a version of a paraphrase that is plagiarized. Note that the structure of the paraphrase is the same as the original, with only the vocabulary changed to synonyms of the original. This plagiarism does not show that the writer understands the meaning of the passage or its importance to their writing, only that they were looking to fill a hole. Now that we've got the basics of summarizing, take a look at this passage and try to summarize it. You can stop the video and restart it when you are finished summarizing. Next up, take a brief quiz about summarizing to test your knowledge.